First thing we're going to talk about is a self-defense stance. Now, what a self-defense stance does is it lets you stand in a position where A, you have great balance, B, you have your hands up by your face to protect all this. We want to keep our moneymakers looking nice. And C, we can move real fast from here. So if someone's trying to grab us, we can move our hands, we can move back. And while we're here, if someone is coming up close to us, we want to do something called a verbal defense. Now, a verbal defense is basically like you're yelling for someone, but not necessarily help. When you say help, people a lot of times don't necessarily take it seriously. They think you may just be messing around, which is why you should say something like back off. If you were to yell back off, they would probably be stunned a little bit, maybe try to get away from you, and it'll get the attention of other people to show that someone is coming close to you that you don't want near you. Another thing you can yell to get other people's attention around is fire or call 911. This is because by yelling that there is an emergency, people will come over and look to see what the emergency is. And if someone does call 911, then when the police show up, they can help you get out of the situation as well. So we're going to be in our self-defense stance, and how we're going to do this is you're going to have your feet next to each other. You're going to move your right foot or left foot if you're left-handed. You're going to move that back behind you and about even with your shoulders. So when you're looking in a mirror, your knees should be about even with your shoulders. You also want to bend your knees just a little bit, just enough so you can't see your toes when you look down. That doesn't mean try to look. Just enough to help keep your balance up. Then from there, you're going to put your hands up by your face. Keep them open. Closed fist kind of means you want to fight, and we don't want to fight. We just want to defend ourselves, so you're going to keep your hands open. Now from here, we're just going to try practicing some verbal defenses. So if my amazing partner, Grace here, were to come up to me, she's the big bad guy, and I don't want to mess with her. I don't want her to talk to me. I could put my hands up. Just go, back off, fire! And so a couple more times, big bad guys coming up to us. We're in our self-defense stance. They're standing there. As they come closer, we're going to back off.
Oh, come here.
No, back off. Instead of just yelling back off, we're going to yell for other people. So we're going to use that fire, call 911. If they're a much older gentleman and you are a bit younger, you could say, this is not my dad, or this is not my mom, this is not my boyfriend, not my husband, whatever it is. Just yell something so people know that you're in danger without yelling help. Back off.
Come here.
Fire!
Come with me.
Fire! Call 911! All right. So that about covers it for our verbal defenses. Just remember that when someone's coming up to you, you can call for help, but be careful how you do it. And remember, you got to be loud, or else people won't hear you. You can't whisper it, or else they won't take you seriously, and other people around won't take you seriously. So now we're going to talk about our very first physical self-defense we're going to do, and that's going to be what is called a little snake. So the reason it's called a little snake is because it's from a one-handed wrist grab. So if Grace is trying to pull me away, she has me by my hand. What can I do to shake you free? Because if I pull back, it's probably not going to work if I just pull. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our hand that's being held, and we're going to make a little snake head. So you have your hand up, little snake head, and this snake is going to slither around their arm and push down to break the grasp that they have on you, because you're twisting their arm, and I promise you their arm will not twist all the way around. So Grace is going to grab me again. We're going to make our little snake. We're going to come around from the outside up to the top, and then we're going to drop down. Notice how I'm dropping my weight with this? When you do it at full speed, it's going to be a heck of a lot faster, and you'll have that momentum with you. But when you drop your weight, it really pushes them off of you. So one more time, Grace is going to grab me. We're going to make our little snake. We're going to come around to the outside of their hand and push down. Now this actually works for any time of arm grab. So she had my left hand that time. This time she's going to grab my right hand. Going to make that snake with hand on our hand. We're going to come around the outside and back down. And again on this side, snake hand, come around, back down. So what if I get grabbed on the elbow or the shoulder? So let's say Grace has me by my elbow. She's trying to pull me away. it'll work just as well. Just try to keep as close to their arm as possible. We're still going to make our snake head, come around, and down. Now, if anything, I'd almost argue that it works a little better from higher up, because if you'll notice, she grabs me again, her arm's now in a lock as my snake is coming around. She really can't get out of this very easily. Push it down. And again, from the shoulder, just to show you can do it from any part of your arm, make your snake hand, and back down. All right, let's do it just a couple more times slowly to make sure we all got it, and then we can move on. So you're gonna grab my wrist, do a little faster, snake head, around, and down, making sure we're bending our knees as we go down. And we're also watching what they're doing. We can look at them, but that will kind of anger them. So we want to look at what we're doing and we're staying focused. Make our snake head, come around, push down. And then from there, we can use our run fu and run away from the situation. All right. So I think that about covers it for our little snakes. Now, we can put it all together so that if someone comes up to you, you know what to do if they grab you. So let's say Grace is coming up to me. I'm in my self-defense stance. I'm yelling, back off, don't touch me. She grabs me. We're gonna take our hand for our little snake, come around, and down. And then we can get away from the situation. So let's do that one more time, just so we can see it. We're gonna do, come on over here. Hey, no, come back here. Off. Come hey, back me. Off. Hey! And you run away. Not very difficult, but a really great skill to have. Now you know that if someone is to grab you, how you can get out of it. You can go back or rewatch this video as many times as you need to, and just go over anything that you might need to just see again. You can always practice it with someone, but remember to practice safely. So if you're practicing with your mom or your brother or sister, your friends, make sure do not hurt them. Just do it slowly and carefully so that if something were to happen, you know how to get out of it. Now we're going to talk about body language, and that's both our own body language and reading the body language of people around us. So when I talk about body language, I'm talking about how we're presenting ourselves, especially if we're in an unfamiliar area or we're around people we don't really know. You want to appear very confident, and you want to appear that you know what you're doing and that you belong there and that someone might not approach you if you don't want them to. So there's a couple of different ways you can do this. Of course, you could talk about just standing with your back straight and keeping your hands close to you. You can do this both in our self-defense stance that we talked about already, or you can do what is called a smart stance. So that's when you have your hands kind of crossed in front of you. They may be towards your face. You're not looking at your phone. You're still keeping your eyes up. You're not looking at anything other than just keeping a watch on your surroundings. You don't want to do anything where you're open or that you're appearing to be vulnerable, kind of hunched over. Maybe you're looking at your phone, you're not paying attention to what's happening around you. You want to make sure that you appear confident. Keeping your hands up by your face, keeping in front of your body, and of course, keeping your feet planted on the ground. Now, when it comes to reading somebody else's body language, you have to be a little more careful. If there's someone you know and they seem to be acting with it they don't typically do, this is an obvious red flag that something might not be right. So maybe you're by someone you can tell that they're obviously impaired. You don't want to be near them. You should get out of that situation as soon as possible, especially if you don't know them. Or maybe if somebody seems like they're looking to have a fight, they're kind of standing with their chest out, their shoulders back, their hands open. You want to make sure that you're staying far away from them and that you're keeping your hands up, keeping your defense stance up, and that you're just keeping your distance from anyone whose body language doesn't seem to be quite right. This is also where you can use your gut instinct. Like if you have a sense that someone by you you probably don't want to be around, you should get away from them as soon as possible. Even if it's just walking away, walking into a nearby store, restaurant, something where there are other people, just to make sure that you are 100% safe. So when I talk about using our gut instinct and being able to read the situation around us, we have a term called the color code. And this is basically a code of the colors white, yellow, orange, and red. And you can use them to kind of tell what situation you're in and what to do. So if you're in the white zone, that's basically you're in your home with your family, you got the dog on your lap, the doors are locked, and obviously nothing's going to happen with you. You don't have to be on guard for anything. You can just be relaxed. Now, the yellow is when you're maybe outside, but you're in your neighborhood, or you're in a store with a lot of people. Somewhere where you want to be a little bit more careful, but you really don't have to be too careful because you're in a well-populated area with lots of people around you, or you're somewhere where you know nothing is going to happen. Now, the orange is where things start to get a little more scary. When you're in the orange, that might be you're somewhere where you don't know, you're with people you don't know very well, maybe it's dark out, and you might not just be feeling the most secure. When you're in the orange, you want to make sure to do the best you can to at least get in the yellow zone, even if that means you have to go into a store, or you have to call someone to come get you, get into your friend's car, whatever it might be, just to get out of the orange zone. And the final zone is the red zone. This is the danger zone. This is you have to have your hands up, you have to use your verbal defense, and you overall just have to be as careful as possible, get out of that situation as soon as you can. This could be somebody is approaching you, or somebody's bothering you, you don't want to be wherever you are, and the number one thing you can do is stay safe and try to get out of there as soon as you can. Call 911 if it's a very dangerous situation. Call a friend, call a family member, do whatever you need to do in order to leave as soon as possible. Of course, we would always like to be in the white zone, but you can't always be, so it's important to try to be as safe as you can wherever you are. So that does it for this video. Of course, you can always go back and rewatch everything we just did, or you can go on to the next video where I continue to talk about more physical self-defenses that you might need to do.